As of Friday, the parties had agreed on the final demand, that is 12,500, but they are going to speak for themselves beyond this. The outstanding issues were two. It was a question of in how many years should that be arrived at. Secondly, it was the question of leaving out allowance. By the way, that also touches on the proposals from the teams, from my team. Leaving out allowance was going to be put to the basic in order to lift the basic salary. So what was outstanding was, when would that be removed? Do we do it upfront or do we do later? Now, the incentive government was giving in this regard was to do exactly what the presidential package team is supposed to do. In other words, meet with the mining houses and assist in terms of delivery of the housing packages to give the miners decent housing. And that remains on the table as we speak. That's why I was very clear and that we should be able to break this thing, or they should be able to do it, because we have come to the party as government, which is an element that was not there before in terms of saying, what can government contribute? And we said we are bringing the social responsibility, because in any event, it's our responsibility in the first instance. Whether there was an impasse or not, we do have a responsibility towards our citizens. We don't have time. And we can't have indefinite negotiations that never reach an end. I've said to some people, they're asking me, when do you want a solution? I said yesterday, and I meant that. And perhaps pulling back, begin to exercise the minds of the participants, the negotiators themselves. So I'm putting pressure on them, definitely, so that they begin to realize that I've got other things to do as well. I still need to be initiated into the department. I'm convinced that they had both moved from the original positions. We had given them the key. They didn't take the key to use it, which was us assisting them to deliver the houses quickly. And I'm sure they'll slip over this, and we'll see what happens the day tomorrow or today or tomorrow. I'm very sure they're going to go back, because when I left them here, they were talking about looking at the next step, including mentioning, by the way, going back to the court mediation. There's a deficiency in South African law, which I discovered in the course of this strike. And that is, we don't have deadlock breaking mechanism between employers and employees as government in terms of our labor law. So everything is voluntary. The parties have to subject themselves to arbitration, and that arbitration must be agreed for beforehand, that it will be binding. We don't have, our law is silent on that issue. I've examined that part carefully. But because if I had that instrument at my disposal, I'm sure I could have unleashed it. Not yesterday, but possibly in the next 2 days. Business was saying if they meet 12,500 in a shorter time, then they've got to dismiss wholesale, shut down certain shafts and so on. So it was looking very difficult. Beyond this point, there have been a lot of lost production. I can't predict what will happen, but there might be some job losses. I suspect there will be, actually, realistically. The more likelihood of shafts being closed. You can look at a company like Lonmin. They've got no other assets but the ones that are in the affected areas. So their production is zero for the past 5 months. So if you understand that, you'll see the danger that is creeping. It means if you are not producing and your stockpiles are getting depleted, then at some point you are not going to be able to sustain your operations. Loanmen and other companies will speak for themselves in that regard. I said to you the other day, if there's no agreement, I pray for the companies, for the unions, and perhaps more importantly for our people who will be affected by job losses. So we are there, we are knocking there now. The situation is grave and quite serious.